not saying that I am right and that they do exist. I am just simply stating that I believe in them. If you do not, then that is perfectly fine. I value everyone's belief as far as things like that go. But in this video, I am just going to be sharing a few things or a few stories with you all. All of this really happened. I really experienced all of these things. I'm not making any of this up, I promise. So, I thought that we could start out with some tapping on these candles because the glass containers they are in really make a nice sound. So, I'm going to start with this one. To the other one. These are actually the exact same containers. I have just used this one a little more, and it is burned just further down than the other one. I have always had a fascination with candles for some reason. I think they are just beautiful and I love them. Ever since I was little, I used to get in trouble for burning candles so much because my mom was afraid that, I think she was afraid that I would fall asleep and leave them on or leave them burning or something, but I never did. Okay, so I'm going to start with something that happened when I was really, really young. Probably, gosh, I would say probably 10 or 11, maybe 12 at the oldest, but anyway, my sister and I, we used to have people spend the night at our house all the time. Our house was pretty much like the go-to house for friends. We'd have our school friends over and friends from the neighborhood, and we just have like big girl party sleepovers. And a lot of the time, she would have her friends over, and I would have mine as well. And we'd just all play together and just do all kinds of things. There was only 2 years difference, age difference between my sister and I, and so we all got along for the most part. One of the things that we liked doing when we were little is all of these games where you would turn out the lights and you would like pretend that you were drawing on people's backs. Well, actually, let me start over. What happened was, or what you're supposed to do, is someone is supposed to lie on the ground and their back is supposed to be flat. Like this is the ground and their back is supposed to be flat on the, like on the carpet or on the floor. And you kind of put your hands up and down their body just like this. You don't ever touch them, but you just kind of go like this and you say random things. I don't even remember now what was said, or I don't remember any of that, but what happened one night when we were playing this game is we each had a couple of friends over, and my sister was the one who was laying on the floor, and we were all, doing the thing with our hands and saying whatever it was that we said. And the whole point is, when you get up, you're supposed to turn on the lights, and then you're supposed to lift the back of your shirt up, and you will actually see marks on your back. Okay, well, so we did that, And then my friend got up to turn the light on, and the second that she flipped the switch to the light, every bulb, like we had a big fan, and it had I think it had like 4 different bulbs in it. But after that, when she flipped the switch, every single bulb in that fan went out. But it didn't just go out, the bulbs like burst just right there. There was no reason for it to happen. It had never happened before, and it did not happen after that. We were all so freaked out, and my mom, she was in the other room, and we were screaming. So she heard us screaming, and she went in there and was like, you know, what happened? What's going on? And we told her. So then, like, my mom, she really believes in ghosts and paranormal stuff as well. So she was saying that we somehow let a spirit inside the house. So then we were, of course, like, all freaked out even more. But, like, none of us slept that night. I don't think I slept for days after that, just because I was so freaked out by it. And like I said, that never happened before, and it never happened after that. It was just one of those really weird things. Let's see. I had like a whole list of things that I wanted to talk to you all about. There are stories that I was going to tell you. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so at our old house, the same house that occurred at, we had 3 bedrooms downstairs, and that was my bedroom, my parents' bedroom, and my brother's bedroom. And then we had an upstairs room, which was really big, and that was my sister's bedroom. Well, my sister moved out when she was like 17, and I was still living at the house at the time. And my stepsister came over to visit, and she spent the night in my sister's room. Normally, when my stepsister would come over, my sister would be there, and they would just share the room. But like I said, my sister had moved out, and so that was my stepsister's first time spending the night up there alone. And there was no reason for her to be afraid or scared or anything, because nothing weird, had ever happened before. And I don't even think she knew about the whole incident with the light bulbs that had happened years before that. So anyway, she spent the night, and I think this was like at 3 or 4 in the morning. She came running down the stairs and woke all of us up, and we were like, what's going on? What's wrong? And she said that she saw a lady in the room with red hair. And we were like, what are you talking about? And she said there was a lady in the room, in my room, with red hair. So we're like, no, there's nobody up there. So of course we went up there and we looked, and we didn't see anything. Okay, so she went back upstairs. When she went back upstairs, the alarm clock that had been on the nightstand was unplugged and upside down on the table. I'm not kidding. We have no clue how that happened or who did it, but it was literally unplugged and laying upside down on the table. So after that, she swore up and down that she was not going to spend the night anymore at our house, and if she did, she was going to be sleeping on the couch. Okay, so this is probably 2 or 3 months later. It gets even better. So when that happened, in the room with my stepsister, my brother was not at the house at the time. He was spending the night somewhere else. Well, we never told him about the story because he was really young at the time. He was like 5 or 6, and there was no point in telling a 5 or 6-year-old something like that because it would just scare him. So we never told him. Well, several months after that, he woke up in the middle of the night screaming, and he woke my parents up, and he woke me up, and said there had been a lady in his room with red hair. And we're like, are you kidding? Like, are you really being serious? Because we knew what had happened before with my stepsister. And he swore up and down that he had seen her. He said that, like, where his bedroom is, like, if this is his bedroom, we had a hallway right here. So So he said that he was laying in his bed and he saw her standing in the hallway looking at him. So he said he pulled the covers up over his head because he was really, really scared. And as he did that, she walked into the room and he was like looking out over the top of the covers. He said that when she went into his room, she took his Barney doll, which was such a random thing. I mean, you're talking about like one stuffed animal out of like 50 that he had at the time. But he said that she took his Barney doll and she took like some of these little, I don't know if you remember them, but they were Chevron, like little Chevron cars that you would get at the gas station years and years ago. He said that she took several of those and then she just went out the window. So we found that a little strange, and my mom, she was trying to, tuck him back into bed and tell him that everything would be okay. And she looked over at his shelf and she realized that the space where his cars had been was completely empty. The cars were not there. So she was just kind of like, okay, did you hide the cars? Or are you just messing with us? And he was crying. He was like, no, I didn't. I told you what happened. So then we were like all looking for his little Barney doll because he slept with that thing almost every night. We spent 30 minutes looking for that stuffed animal and never could find it. Okay, so several months later, and I'm talking like probably like 4 or 5 months later, he was in bed again one night and he woke my mom up and my stepdad and said that the lady with the red hair had come back. So they're like, oh great, here we go again. Well, he said this time that she put one of the cars back on the shelf. Sure enough, when my mom walked over to the shelf, one of the cars that had been missing since that night was back there again. We have no clue like how it happened. My mom had searched everywhere for those cars because my brother loved them. And my parents had invested, some money in those. He had like pretty much the entire collection. And that one car was back. It was just a really, really weird thing. And so after that, we told him about the story of what happened to my stepsister when she was staying upstairs. And he said that he thought it was the same lady, like he described her exactly the way that my stepsister did. So that was like really creepy and just really strange, but we never did find the other cars, and we never found his Barney doll. Like, my parents, we've all moved since then, so, we packed everything up, and even in moving, those items were never found. So I have no clue what happened to them, and I don't have a clue who the lady with red hair was, because my stepsister has red hair, but as far as like people that we know or people that we associate with outside of the family, we don't have anyone with red hair. So it was really weird. Okay, let's see another one. I have so many just weird random stories, not necessarily ghost stories, but I mean, you can just take them for what you will. The other one that I wanted to share with you guys is the place where my stepfather works. It's not a college campus, but it could almost be something of that nature. I don't want to say where he works, but it's almost like a campus. I'll just put it that way. It's not a school though. But the main building that he works in is super old, and it used to be owned by an actress that was in several old Hollywood movies. I'm not going to say her name because people could probably Google it and then they could find out where he works, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, she sold this property to the organization that my stepdad basically works for in, I want to say like 1920. And this house, this huge house that she used to live in on this property, it has always been said to be haunted. Well, when I want to say like 14 or 15, we decided to all go over there one night, and I believe it might have been Halloween reason I remember that is because it was really cold and it was like a week before my birthday. But anyway, I kind of got off track, but so we decided to go over there and just kind of scope the place out at night, I guess. Now keep in mind that my stepdad's office is like actually in this building, this house. So the story was that a long time ago there was a fire, and one of the children that used to stay at this house at the time somehow got caught in the fire, and that like at the very top, it's several stories. So at the very top, and people that had worked there before had said that just all kinds of creepy things had happened. And if you look at the window at the very top, sometimes you can actually see someone standing up there. So, we're looking around and we go upstairs and we went in the attic, and this attic in this house is just massive. I mean, it's probably half the size of my house, and my house is pretty large, so if that gives you any idea, it's just a huge attic, and it's just filled with a lot of junk, like old papers and nothing really of importance, I guess. So we decided to go up there with no lights and just flashlights, and I will never do that again in my life. One time was enough for me. We went up in the attic, and from the time that we stepped foot in that room, the hairs on my arm were standing on end, and it, like, I don't even know, it just freaked me out so much. I could feel something the entire time, like, how you can feel somebody behind you. That's what it felt like, and I kept turning around, and I obviously didn't see anything. So we're looking around up there, and this is me, my mom, my stepdad, my brother, and my sister, and I think my sister had a friend with her, if I'm not mistaken. But we're looking around, and my brother went over to one of the windows that face the outside of the building, like this is the front of the building. It was one of the windows that faced the front, and he put his hand over the window, and he jumped back really quick, and we're like, what's wrong? And he said, you need to come over here and feel this window. So we go over there, and one by one we feel the window, and it is burning hot. I'm not just talking about a little bit warm. I mean, like, you could put your hand on the window and it would burn you. So and this is in the middle of December when it's like 30 degrees outside. So as soon as we did that, like, we do one by one, and we felt it, and that was enough. Like, we ran downstairs, me, my sister, and my brother, and then my parents, they stayed up there for a good probably 5 minutes after that, and we could hear them walking around. So I was like freaking out, thinking that something was going to get them, and when they finally came downstairs, they were a little freaked out themselves. They said that they could definitely feel something up there, and there was just no explaining what it was. So those are just a few of my ghostly experiences, I guess. As far as that house goes, we have been back several times. I've not gone back up into the attic, but my parents have taken groups of people. They took a lot of my sister's friends up there. They took some of my brother's friends. And so it's kind of been like a little, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it, but it's just kind of been like a story that has been passed around through all of the kids around here, or around the town where we used to live. And so everybody wanted to go and check it out. But there have probably been at least 50 people over the last 15 years that have gone up there with, my parents, and not one single person has said that they weren't like creeped out and scared. Just about everybody would turn around and run back down the stairs at some point. That's how crazy it was. And I would just always sit at the bottom because I did not want to go up there again. One time was enough for me. But then the messed up thing was, like, the few times that I went back and I did not go up there, like, I would be all by myself, and then I'd start hearing all kinds of noises, and then it registered. I was like, oh, I'm by myself down here when everybody else is upstairs. If anybody's gonna come get somebody, they're probably gonna get me. So I just eventually stopped going because it was too scary for me. I am one of these people that I love being scared, and I love like haunted houses and scary movies and things like that, but I also have really, really bad nightmares from it. If I go see a scary movie, then 99% of the time I'm going to have a horrible nightmare that night, and I've always been that way. And I have problems sleeping as it is, so I do not need to add anything to that. But anyway, if you guys have any weird stories of your own, feel free to share them in the comments below. I kind of wanted to do something for today that was not too serious. I mean, like I said, all of this stuff happened, but I didn't want to like read a story or, I don't know, do some inaudible whispering or anything like that. I kind of wanted to switch it up and just kind of make this a chill video. I hope that you all have a wonderful Halloween if you celebrate. If not, then I hope you have a great day and night as well. And I think that's going to be about it. Like I said, feel free to share any of your stories in the comments below, and I will talk to you all soon.